We've never ever seen a situation like this before.
The family tree for Black people usually stops at slavery.
Statues have a very ancient kind of power.
Welcome to Your World by Bloomberg QuickTake. I'm Jennifer in New York.
And I'm Kurumi in Tokyo.
Seaside towns across the Northern Hemisphere have lost most of their seasonal income due to COVID-19.
And the Spanish party destination of Mallorca is not an exception. Here's how one pub owner is dealing with Spain's strict COVID-19 shutdowns.
Magaluf is a touristic destination in Spain. It's a small island, and Magaluf has a name of a party destination.
Why did you come here?
Party time!
Take 4.
Danny is the owner of the Red Lion pub in Magaluf. A family business, the pub was founded by his parents in 1984 and has been run solely by Danny since they retired. During a normal summer, the pub would be crawling with activity, showing football matches during the day and packed with young partygoers at night.
We've never ever seen a situation like this before. The summer season for my business is everything, and especially June, July and August. All the money, we normally make it in 40 days.
The Red Lion sits on the Punta Ballena, an infamous party street in Magaluf, with over 16 nightclubs and 25 pubs. This summer, the street is a ghost town.
This place would be absolutely heaving right now. You could not walk, you could not stand where I'm standing right now. The street would be that busy. It's just incredible to see it so empty. All these businesses would be employing people right now. Lennon's pub, this would be heaving right now. This is a takeaway. People would be queuing right now to buy themselves a kebab. For the last 30 years, it's never happened this way.
Though no dates have been announced for the reopening of nightlife establishments, the Balearic Islands are still welcoming tourists to their hotels, cafes and restaurants.
Me and Ryan have been to Magaluf before, so we understand how busy the Magaluf strip can be, but we still have a good time. Plenty of girls.
Y yo no he visto nunca nada así, ¿no? Bueno, esto es que creo que no lo han visto ni siquiera mis padres, que llevan 30 años también trabajando en el taxi. El problema no es ahora, el problema será en invierno. Este invierno va a ser muy, muy duro.
This time last year, Danny had 36 people working at the Red Lion. People like Benji, the doorman, whose party trick includes lifting the pub's customers into the air, sometimes by the teeth. But with the pub unlikely to reopen this year, Danny is having to make some difficult choices and temporarily lay off some of his staff.
It's going to be a very sad moment when I tell the employees, but we're not going to reopen the business anymore, because we're talking of people they have their families, they have kids, they have rents to pay, and they don't know how they're going to survive.
I don't even know how to go home and tell my kids that I am not working anymore. We live by people's tips. Because I'm a showman, I don't always hope for the salary. We have to work. We have to work to get the money.
While furloughed workers like Benji receive a percentage of their salary from both the state and their employers, this scheme is currently set to run out in October.
We'll enter 18 months without an income. We come 6 months, we've already been closed because of the winter. Now we come 6 months of the summer closed, and then we've got a winter.
Meanwhile, a local city council has seen an opportunity to push for a long-awaited overhaul of the Punta Ballena strip and to stamp out excessive drinking and antisocial behavior. Others say the city's nightlife industry was unfairly singled out and forced to close while hotels and restaurants reopened.
So I think it's fair if they shut everything down. Then we'll know they are shutting it for coronavirus. Because the hotels in Magaluf, they are open and they have people. And in this hotel, they have swimming pools, they have bars. In these hotels, they have buffet. I think this is politics. It's no more coronavirus.
I'm confident once the virus disappears, the hotels will get overbooked. For me, it's more than the economic side of the business. It's part of me, it's part of my life. And I will continue fighting until I'll be the last one here.
The racial reckoning of 2020 isn't limited to the borders of the US. Many of the Afro-Dutch population of the Netherlands are wrestling with their history, looking to learn more about where they came from and charting a path forward.
My history or a family tree for black people usually stops at slavery.
Hier, kijk, hier. Hier. De slavin Koba, dat is dus mijn overgrootmoeder, en haar kinderen, Karel, Michael en Gottlieb. Ik wist helemaal niets van het slavernijverleden van mijn familie.
At the end of the day, you really want to know where you're from. We are Afro-Dutch, so we're first Africans. And then we are all everything what comes behind it.
We zijn hier omdat vandaag ik onder ogen zal zien dat mijn voorouders in het manumissieboek staan. In het boek gaan wij zien de namen van mijn overgrootmoeder met haar kinderen, dat ze gemanumitteerd zijn. Dus dat ze vrijgekocht zijn.
My first plan was to write a piece about myself, actually, as a black actor in the Netherlands. My question was, where am I from? You know, where did I start? So Koen van Galen is the historian who set up the online slave registers, and he helped me discover the history of my last name, where my ancestors came from. But my last name used to be Delmina, which came from the fort Elmina in Ghana, and then they call it like Delmina from French, like from Elmina. The first woman he found was called Simire, and Simire was originally from a land in Africa, because they don't know which country, of course. So that was really like as far as back as I could go. It was emotional because I got angry because I couldn't find out their real names or which country she was from, or just the fact that she was enslaved. But I was also very happy to see who I came from, to get to know her. He showed me the actual, like not online, but the actual paper that the owner of the plantation where my ancestors were, Alliance it was called, they got money when the slavery ended. It was really at that moment when I got really emotional because he held that in his hands. He got money for my ancestors. Now I was holding the same piece of paper. That was insane for me. So that was really important to me to get more information. And also it was important for the play I was writing because I wanted to show the world, or the Netherlands, how important it is to know where you came from.
My name is Gideon Everdam. I'm a part-time politician. I'm a social worker. I'm a social entrepreneur, youth leader, because I'm also a rapper. I'm calling out the Dutch government to take their responsibility as a government with colonial ties, because they were facilitators, to give the Afro-Dutch people the opportunity to change their last name, because it's a journey of closing that mental slavery that's still going on until today. That last name is a form of mental slavery. The Netherlands had a big role within colonialism for more than 400 years, and they're still, until today, are manifesting economical wealth through that history. The Dutch could never be that small, powerful country without that colonial history. Yeah, so I did my DNA research at the AfricanAncestry.com. I will never forget that day. I opened up the test results at home, accompanied by my wife, and I opened it up, and it was 97% throughout the material, so the line, the bloodline of my father, that I'm from Burkina Faso. And I was really emotional, because it felt like 360 degrees coming back to myself, because a lot of Surinamese people think they're from Ghana or they're from Nigeria. The slave trade started at the west coast of the west of Africa, but Africa is a continent with so much diversity in people and villages. And somehow, in some way, we went from Burkina Faso towards the west coast and on a slave ship heading towards South America. And that impact is huge. And still that journey isn't, I still not know the story behind that journey. So I'm still figuring that out, yeah.
Koen van Galen die heeft mij ongelooflijk verrast om mij een scan van het slavenregister toe te sturen, waar ik kon zien dat mijn overgrootvader als eigenaar, plantage-eigenaar, in de register stond. Met de naam van de slavin waar hij de 3 zonen mee heeft gekregen. En waarvan de jongste mijn grootvader is en in slavernij geboren. En ik vond dat fantastisch. Ik vond dat zo mooi. Ik vond het zo mooi en ik was heel blij, maar ik kon er ook niet van slapen. Het heeft echt, hoe moet je dit vertellen? Dat gevoel van, dat is mijn familie.
When you see the Black Lives Matter movement, you see the diaspora. You see Afro-Dutch young people, you see Afro-Americans from a certain age group who stood up and say, we are integrated, sometimes even assimilated. And because of the assimilation, we demand equal rights, the most basic rights. So the protest I helped organize in the Bijlmer, and we wrote history. More than 18,000 people in a park, and it was amazing. So what I spoke about in my speech was it was a speech towards the Prime Minister, and I told the Prime Minister, you see this diversity in front of me. This is the future of the Netherlands. This is the new Netherlands. And the transatlantic slave trade karma has arrived. And it hasn't arrived throughout brutality or violence. It has arrived throughout love. So I asked the Prime Minister during the speech to have a chat with me, to talk with me about the not even the problems, but the beautiful future that we could have together if we accept each other. And within two weeks, we spoke. His back office thought would be an hour and a half conversation, but at the end of the day, we spoke for 3 hours. We spoke on a really equal level. We have different visions, different political ideas, but that's our democracy. When I go to Suriname, I come from a place called Para. So you can feel the colonial plantation energy, and you can even see the remainings of the plantations. So I know all these stories about how my great-great-great-grandparents, how they fought the colonialists. And it was a bloody fight. They were enslaved, but they fought themselves free. And it was a bloody fight, but one with so much strength, and that's installed in my DNA. That's why I think I am the person today who I am. I need to continue that fight.
I wanted to find out more about myself, actually for the first time, because growing up in Rotterdam is really urban, a lot of cultures, a lot of black people. But when I moved to Arnhem, which is a pretty white town, it was the first time that I noticed I was the other. I didn't have a lot of knowledge about racism or black history, also the Dutch history about slavery. So that was the first time I thought, I have to dig into this. And then I decided to make this play about it, to show also my struggle with racism, of what I experience in the Netherlands. When I made it, it was really important to me that I was vulnerable. So I didn't want to show like, I know everything about racism and blah, 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 and you should do too. I wanted to show people like, I also was asleep and I'm trying to be woke by learning, reading, watching, talking, and I still do that.
Ik ben in Paramaribo geboren en ik heb er tot mijn 19e gewoond in Paramaribo. Ik denk dat ik toen een jaar of 15 was, dat ik al wist dat ik zou kiezen voor Nederland. 3 oktober 1970 was het zover. Nou, rond die tijd was Suriname hoorde nog bij Nederland, dus het was een kolonie. En daar ben ik dus een kind van. Ik ben echt een kind van die tijd. Het is zo gek dat het woord slaaf absoluut niet thuis gesproken werd. Ik heb mijn ouders daar nooit over gehoord. Ik neem het ze ook niet kwalijk, want het was natuurlijk, denk ik, en dat hoor je ook van heel veel mensen, een taboe. Mensen hebben zich geschaamd, hè? En nog, als je zegt van ik kom van een slaaf af, ik stam van een slaaf af, of mijn moeder was slavin, of mijn vader. Hè? Mensen hebben zich heel erg geschaamd. Ja, dat zijn ook de verhalen wat ik dus ook hoor. Nou, op dit moment ben ik bezig met het ontwikkelen van nieuwe lesprogramma's over het Nederlands slavernijverleden. Ja, het is goed voor Nederland, omdat het een geschiedenis is die we samen moeten delen. Dus ook voor jou is het een gedeelde geschiedenis, of je wel of niet familie in Suriname hebt of in Caribisch Nederland, het maakt niet uit. En het moet in het onderwijs, moet daarin moet men onderwezen worden.
It's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires. And we feel confident about getting the link procedure, the installation of a link, done in under an hour. So you can basically go in the morning and leave the hospital in the afternoon. And it can be done without general anesthesia.
For the first time since it was made in the 19th century, New York Central Park has a statue commemorating real-life women. Here's a look at the women who helped make this moment in time happen.
In Central Park, there are 23 statues of men, none of women. 42 million visitors do come to Central Park each year, and they already see Alice in Wonderland and Mother Goose, Juliet with Romeo, and allegorical figures, no real women. One of the first lines of objection that we got was, there will never be another new statue in Central Park. It's a historical collection. But the city over time had statues donated to it of people that nobody here knew. We have Sojourner Truth, we have Susan B. Anthony, we have Elizabeth Cady Stanton, all on the same pedestal. Across from us is who?
The Women's Rights Pioneers Monument stands 14 feet high. 5 of that is the granite pedestal, and Anthony is 9 feet tall. So they're almost twice life size. A project like this is made several times. I begin with a little model, and then I jump up to an interim size. So this behind me is the 3 foot high scale model of the monument. And from that, I enlarge it up to full scale.
It was like a feminist perfect storm, because this marks the centennial anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Votes for Women Amendment to the Constitution. So if you don't take an enormously important historical moment like that and signify it, when is it going to happen? In New York City's public spaces, there are 150 statues. 5 of them are women. Ours will be the 6th. Yes, that is an understatement. It's outrageous. A lot of people don't know that these 3 women work together. They're New Yorkers.
I wanted to show them at work, not just standing on a pedestal, and to show them cooperating and communicating. I think that's an image that we need right now. Statues have a very ancient kind of power. They make the dead live. They keep them in our memories, in our sight. They are larger than life, and they represent something we want to represent, something that we believe symbolizes what is strong or good or just or victorious in our lives, in our society. In the midst of this time when monuments are being discarded, I'm honored that I can be part of putting up one that's new and necessary and wanted.
All of us should be fighting to create a full and fair historical record. Monumental Women is issuing a challenge to municipalities all over this country and this world to reimagine their public spaces and to create more tributes of women and people of color so that we rethink the past in order to reshape the future.
It's really cool. I think it's going to inspire a lot of little girls to go out and do what they want to do. Yeah, it's really amazing.
公共トイレ使うときに2つの心配事があるというふうにおっしゃっていて、1つは中がきれいかどうかで、もう1つは中に誰も潜んでいないかっていうのが確認できれば安心になるんじゃないかということでこのデザインをしてくださいました。
I feel a little anxious the first time, like, will this work? It's somebody like in the glass trying to look inside or something. It's more for the fun of it, like to really feel comfortable inside.
Netflix's Indian matchmaking show has been one of the big streaming hits of this summer. It gave viewers a glimpse at what many Westerners might consider to be an unfamiliar practice. We spoke with a few couples about the process, the misconceptions, and the experience of being in an arranged marriage.
He asked me, "Are you ready for this marriage? Or someone is forcing you?" I met my husband through my father's friend, my uncle. I first saw him through video call. He was sailing in Europe, and from there our story started.
When we were 28, we got married. Girls in India have to get married before a certain age. That's a preset, probably a norm or a culture in India. So my parents wanted me to get married.
It has made huge waves in the country. It focuses a very small segment of Indian society, the very upper crust, people of a certain standard of society and financial background. From the time before the 1990s, before India actually embraced a kind of an economic liberalization, and money came, I think, in a completely unexpected way into middle class pockets. We also want to tell the world that, oh, look, I have arrived socially and financially. So all of these things came together to make the weddings as large as they had become. The family is considered a very central point of the Indian thought process. So not the individual, but the family first. There is certainly a lot of pressure on young people to abandon, individual desires and then get married.
It was my parents' interest. My marriage happened just because of their interest. I never thought that I'll be a person to go for arranged marriage. And destiny, it was completely destiny. Traditional arranged marriage is more like a deal. You check the social status, the mental status, and the financial status of both the families. The girl or the boy, they have to compromise. And the matchmaker is the one who negotiates. It is actually like fixing a deal. I was initially scared that, am I getting into a deal or what? I personally see like how things can go negative, choosing a wrong person. I have my best friend who was involved in arranged marriage. Everything seems to be wonderful for a few years, but it turned into a nightmare. The marriage was just for money. They even tried to kill her.
Really, I think the couple has more say when it comes to love marriage. I think arranged marriages may be happening in most of the traditional families, certain kind of a criteria for what their children would choose on to. I think arranged marriages are also fairly common in India. As Indians, we want a secure setup. That's a very common trait in the society and in our families, that we all want safety. So we generally tend to look for our partners who are of the same community.
There is massive stratification along the lines of caste, community, religion, Western exposure, education, height, fairness, yes. Too much of the individual is also not encouraged because in a way, you have to adapt to your family. And of course, the woman is the person who is going to be entering the family, given the patriarchal conditions that we have. The girl has to be flexible. The girl has to adjust. And I think that is an injustice, both to the youth of the country, the many different voices which are coming up in this country.
If the parents are carrying forward certain thoughts which, as you say, a bit regressive, so the children have the responsibility to move on from those things and to add more value to it. That is how progress happens.
Earlier, it was a huge mess, like a Hindu marrying to a Christian or Muslim guy. It was a big mess. But now I'm watching, I have friends who are very happily married to each other. Mindset is changing. They are leaving those stereotypes. So I believe our generation is a little more flexible.
Ultimately, the change is happening, whether you like it or not, whether you have the family approval or not. These dialogues which have hit social media in this unprecedented way are, I think, maybe the beginnings of continuing with the process of searching where we want to be as a society. What do women want? What do men want? What are the youth looking for?
Love is something which you have to create. You generate it.
And that is how thoughts open up. We widen our spectrum.
That's our show for this week. Thanks as always for watching. And remember to follow Bloomberg QuickTake on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And for a daily recap of the day's top stories, visit www.quicktake.video. Thanks for watching.